and asked for it. She said, "Oh," and I thought, "Don't tell me they discontinued." She said, "We're out of it." I said, "Oh no, I can never find it." Hello, everyone, and welcome to Silver and Sensational. It is I, the Lo, as in Lois Mills, welcoming you back to another episode and hoping that you will enjoy today's, which is going to be way, way different than anything I've done before. So I sort of teased you last week with something very exciting, and I am really hoping you enjoy my experience as much as I enjoyed it. So I thank you for tuning in, and I say stay through the end because I talk more about what took place. So, what is this big surprise? What's this big deal I'm making? Well, I visited the Dior Museum. Now, this is new. It's located behind the main Christian Dior store. And I have to tell you, this museum itself is only spectacular. The displays are beyond description. You'll see, you'll experience. This is going to be a highly visual program. But, I'm really old and I don't go back to when Monsieur Dior started, since he started about the time that I was actually born. But you may or may not have seen a few programs of documentaries on his life. And, he's had incredible, incredible people who have been designers for him. Probably know the very best would be, of course, Yves Saint Laurent, as well as Galliano. They did the whole history. It was so fluid going through it. And as you turned a corner or moved into another room, unfortunately, I am not a real videographer, and they did allow videos and photos to be taken as long as the flashes weren't used. But I have to tell you, some of the really spectacular rooms were darkened to the extent that you really needed a flash. So I'm going to suggest that on your next visit to Paris, that you make it a trip that you're going into there. Now, in addition to that, there's a cafe where you can have lunch after. Of course, there's always a small shop. I mean, there's no museum without a small shop.
It's everywhere. Get used to it.
There were people in line, but it really is better to make a reservation and buy a ticket, especially if you're going at any time of the year where there's a lot of tourists, which is what's starting now. I could see that the city is already beginning to be more crowded. And so I was able to walk in because I did have a reserved time. And I first became familiar with Monsieur Dior after he stopped really working, when Marc Bohan did this. And again, we're going back to the late 50s when I was, I think, around 9 years old, and started to sew. It was like everything was new. Up until that time, you had, little fitted shirtwaist dresses with a waist and a belt and then a full skirt. And you wore petticoats underneath. And this was a whole new direction. And so the opening, room, which you'll see when I come in, you will see this incredible staircase with a display of almost maquettes or miniatures of all of the designs through the years in the same color tones. And it's going to be a feast for your eyes. So instead of my talking about it, let's just move ahead, and we're going to start the photographs and the videos, and it's going to be a true visual experience. What I really would like you to do is pay attention to the fabrics, please, because whenever I was able to take a close-up of the fabrics, the embroidery, the beadwork, it's just mind-boggling, so exquisite, so beautiful. It just goes on, whether it is the garments themselves or the most incredible beaded shoes, satin and beading shoes, and the jewelry, the cuff bracelets, the body jewelry. It was just remarkable, absolutely remarkable. And then, as someone who has sewn most of her life, the part that I really personally enjoyed is you will see a room of just white. And what you're looking at are the muslins or the toiles or the canvases. I think those words are interchangeable. And what they are the fabrics that any dressmaker uses to create the garment. And that is what's fitted to the model. That is how they drape and they sew based with this fabric. So after that has been perfected, then they move on to the actual fabric of the garment. This was so fascinating for me. I just couldn't get enough of it. And that's somewhat towards the end. So when you see this sea of white, believe me, they aren't wedding gowns. They are the muslins, the beginning of after the sketches there and the draping. They are the next step in creating a garment. This is, of course, haute couture, so it's not the mass market. But although they still do that, can't even imagine that there's 1% of the population that buys haute couture. It's probably 1/100th, who spends $100,000 and upwards on a garment. So what we see in the stores, which is already expensive, is really the ready to wear or the pret-à-porter, as they say. At any rate, go ahead and enjoy, and I'll be there for you when it's finished to talk about what I did when the show was over. For me, anyway. Oh, by the way, when you see something down underneath some glass, that was Monsieur Dior's office and workroom. Interesting way that they did it. Different than the Yves Saint Laurent Museum, but quite effective. So anyway, hope you enjoy, and I'll be back. So, what did you think? A feast for the eyes, isn't it? It truly is a feast for the eyes. I was just floating when I left that museum. Absolutely floating. So, I chose not to eat at the cafe, mainly because I really didn't want to wait in line and I hadn't made a reservation. So, I took myself off to the store. Wow, what a difference. It's been years and years and years. I hate talking about all these years, but it's at least 30 years since I've been in that Dior store. And of course, it's a brand new store. And if I were to be completely honest, I'd have to say that I really prefer the old store. Why? I think it was far more elegant. I mean, when you walked in the old store and that circular staircase was there, and here's this pale gray with all the white trim, and it was just so elegant. Now, this store, of course, is absolutely beautiful. And I can't say that it's not. And there's a wonderful sort of a conservatory with it's not quite a cafe. It's more like a tea room, but they do little bustiers out of chocolate that you can buy. So it's really, but it's such a beautiful setting because it's all glazed as a conservatory would be with these incredible plants, and it's all part of the store. So I went in because I really wanted to be able to get Dior's very, very old perfume called Diorissimo. And Diorissimo is, I can't say for sure, but I'm going to guess. I know it's one of the first. Whether or not it is the first, I'm not certain. But it smells exactly like Lily of the Valley, which is one of my favorite scents. And I was unable to get it because the stores in the States, with all the newer J'adore and Miss Dior, and, there's so many new fragrances that there's not a lot of call for Diorissimo. So, the Neiman's and Saks of the world really weren't carrying it. Or, when I asked for it, they'd say, well, we don't have that one. So when I went into the cosmetic perfume area and asked for it, she said, oh, and I thought, don't tell me they discontinued. She said, we're out of it. I said, oh no, I can never find it. And she was so sweet. She said, but let me check the back. And she came out with this divine, and the both eau de toilette, eau de parfum, and I couldn't have been happier to have something that I've loved forever and haven't been able to have. So I've been wearing it every day now that I know I can get it. And then I started just sort of looking around and decided I'd look at jewelry, and they are doing a new tribal. This is called the tribal earring. And actually, I had one of the first ones, which I think they came out with it maybe about 10 years ago. But I sold it when I was selling a bunch of jewelry. And tribal is simply some stone. In this case, I really like pearls. So I did the pearl that goes in the front, and then in the back is a larger pearl. It's generally a pearl in the back with something different in the front. And what they've changed is they've done the CD, and it comes all different ways with clear stones and gold, silver, pearls, plain, black, you name it.
Not a bad shop. They have everything.
And so this was my purchase. I pondered and pondered and pondered, should I spend the money, and thought, I will really make a lot of use out of this because they're really great everyday kind of earrings. So it was a rather expensive day for me, I will say that.
It's money down the drain, isn't it?
Here we are. I hope you enjoyed it. And what I really would love for you to do is let me know if this kind of content is interesting to you, or not on a weekly basis, but when I have the opportunity to go to an exhibit at a museum and they allow videos and or photographs, I will take them and share them with you if you think that this is something you'd be interested in seeing. So go down in the comment box and let me know what you're thinking about it and whether or not you enjoyed today's program. And so there you have it. And as always, I am very grateful for your tuning in to me. And if you've enjoyed this, then I'm hoping that, of course, you'll comment below. But, you could really help me out if you would consider subscribing, of course, but also joining and becoming a member of Silver and Sensational. Please look at it down in the description box. And if you see fit, it really would help me out a lot. In the meantime, you know the routine. Check the description box and direct link to the blog, which lots of people are liking, and I hope you will too. And the same old routine, kids. Subscribe. If you haven't, please subscribe. YouTube likes subscribers and likes. And like button and share us with your friends and family. Press the notification bell so you know when the next episode drops. And in the meantime, all be well. I appreciate. Take care. Au revoir.